Welcome again everyone to the Wrestling Home Media Reviews. We are now at episode 9 and I fancied reviewing a Christmas themed feature from the WWE today. They actually have just released a home feature called Christmas Classics, but instead I'm going to focus on the first one, WWE's Christmas Collection, also known as Ring in the Holiday. I might look at the newer feature, the Christmas Classics, next year if you will want me to do so. Regarding Christmas moments in the WWE, well, like everything in wrestling, we can get some jolly out of these Christmas moments, or we may feel different about them. Normally for me, I just get along with whatever Christmas moments we get shown on TV and not really give much thought afterwards, as I'm there to watch some in-ring competition. Now don't get me wrong, I have seen some Christmas moments that were actually good, and hopefully some of these have made it to the feature that we're going to look at today. In today's feature, we have a total of 13 matches, as well as a few Christmas segments or moments as well. As this is a DVD only feature, there of course won't be any additional matches to look at as the Blu-ray exclusives. Also, we have a series of segments with the host of this feature that were shown in between the matches and segments as well on this set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at those segments with the host, and then we're going to look at the matches and other segments included. So now, let those sleigh bells ring and we'll begin our look. The feature is hosted by the hardcore legend Mick Foley and his daughter Noelle, and they're at a Christmas theme park called Santa's Village, which is in Jefferson, New Hampshire. And throughout the feature, the two of them are on a mission to find Santa Claus in the park and get him to co-present the feature. Firstly, Foley tells Noelle about his boiler room brawl with Santa Claus back in 1999, and then the two of them head off to find Santa. We next see the two entering what I believe is Santa's grotto. Santa's nowhere to be found, and Noelle comes across a plate full of cookies that are still warm, and this makes Mick deduce that Santa has been there recently. Foley then takes a seat and he tells us the times when he's put on the red suit at Christmas in the WWE, and then he brings up the time he dressed up as Santa at the 2005 Tribute to the Troops show. We then see an elf show up and he gives Foley a VIP pass to the park, which Foley is delighted about. Well, who wouldn't be delighted to get a free pass at a theme park? The next segment with the Foleys, both of them are saying that it's quite warm, and they're not kidding, given that this was filmed way before Christmas. They then approach some reindeers and Mick asks them if they've seen Santa Claus anywhere in the park. After he gets no luck with them, Foley brings up the time Bobby the Brain Heenan tried to ruin Christmas during a televised segment. Next we see the two of them waiting for a train to arrive so they can continue on looking for Santa. Once the train arrives, Noelle brings up the time her father hosted an episode of SmackDown back in 2011. Mick brings up the fact that the SmackDown show in question that he hosted aired in November, but he made sure that it had a brand of Christmas themes inserted into the show. After that, the train departs and the Foley's hunt for Santa resumes. The two are then seen riding a merry-go-round, and after Mick takes a jab at The Miz, Noelle comes across Santa walking by, and when Mick shouts out to him, Santa starts to flee, and this prompts Foley to get the ride to stop, and whilst he's waiting for it to come to a halt, Mick brings up the episode of Raw where Santa was hit by Alberto Del Rio's car back in 2012. Next we see Noelle on a Ferris wheel with her camera, and Mickey's on the ground talking about the time when superstars read their own versions of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And while he's talking about that, Noelle sees Santa once again, and when Mick Foley sees him, Santa does a runner again, but this time Mick decides to chase after him. Santa is then shown inside his grotto, or home, wherever it is, and Mick finally confronts him. Foley explains that he's hosting the DVD feature, and Santa says that's why he's been avoiding him all day. Foley seems baffled, and Santa then has the footage shown of him or others dressed up as Santa getting ambushed by WWE superstars. Once the footage ends, Santa says that while he likes watching the WWE, he feels apprehensive about getting involved with them. Noelle then suggests that her father tried to protect Santa or even act as his stunt double. Mick then offers to teach Santa basic moves in wrestling in exchange for helping him host this feature. Santa agrees to the deal, but the next segment that features them is the last one to involve them, so don't you guys think you've left it a bit too late for presenting a feature together? Anyhow, this segment ends with Santa saying that he wants to watch a match featuring the WWE Divas. And the last we see of Santa and the Foleys shows Mick teaching Santa how to perform the mandible claw with an elf being used as a guinea pig. The poor guy. Santa then thanks Mick and says it's been an enjoyable day. What? You spent most of it running away and avoiding the hardcore legend. Unless that was what he enjoyed the most. Santa offers to give Foley a ride in his sleigh, to which Mick readily agrees to. Foley then turns to the camera and starts to wrap up the feature, and then the two walk off, and Noelle ends the segment saying her father's catchphrase, "Have a nice day," with the thumbs up, and that's how the adventure ends with Foley and Santa. Now that's out the way, it's time to head now to the matches and other segments included. For the scoring system, I'm not going to give the segments a score, but I'll decide whether they were good or not. Regarding those that we just looked at with Foley and Santa, I actually thought they were quite fine on the whole. Now for the terms for today's scoring, and I'm sorry in advance if they sound kind of bad throughout, but I'm going to use some form of Christmas terms, and they are merry for the best matches, good tidings for those that were good enough or just average, and ho ho horrible for the not so nice matches contained. I hope you don't mind them. They should be decent enough terms because, come on, it is a Christmas themed feature after all that we're looking at. So anyhow, let's get down to even more business. The first match we have is Mankind versus Santa Claus in a boiler room brawl. Before the match, Mankind gets interviewed by Michael Cole, and Mankind ends up getting attacked by the Mean Street Posse, who throw Mankind into the boiler room to begin the brawl. Mankind approaches Santa and tells him he isn't interested in fighting him and instructs him to walk out the door to end the match. Santa complies, but Mankind then ends up getting attacked by three men dressed in Santa outfits. I believe it's the Mean Street Posse again. Mankind manages to get the upper hand, and as he walks to the door, two more men in Santa costumes are in the way, and they end up brawling with Mankind, and the mannerisms of the Santa punching Mankind makes it clear who these two are, the New Age Outlaws. When Mankind comes back on top, another Santa emerges and hits Mankind with his sack. He then badmouths him, and this Santa was none other than Triple H. Hunter walks out the door and he's declared the winner of the boiler room brawl. Well, it was short, but I actually had fun watching it, so I'll start the scoring with a point for Mary. Next match is from the 2005 Tribute to the Troops show. The coach introduces everyone to Santa Claus, but this Santa is wearing a Troops uniform rather than his traditional red attire. Once in the ring, this Santa begins bad-mouthing about Christmas and things like that, and after more verbal tirades from him, another Santa in his real attire comes out, and of course it's Mick Foley. Mick tells the bad Santa off, and then he challenges him to a no ho-ho holds barred match, good term that. During the match, the bad Santa's wig and beard comes off, and it turns out to be John Bradshaw Layfield. It's another short match, but the whole thing from the promo to the match altogether was good. Mick Foley won the match with a mandible claw, scoring the pinfall win. Again, it was just good, not average, but just good, and it did look entertaining, but this one is only going to be rated under the good tidings sector. We now come to the December 23rd, 1995 edition of WWF Superstars. This match was between Santa Claus, first name beginning with X, taking on Scott Taylor, maybe better known as Scotty Too Hotty. Santa Claus, who fans know him better as ECW's Balls Mahoney, was accompanied by the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and the match was basically a 90-second big guy versus a jobber scenario. Santa Claus of course won here, and this one wasn't really anything special overall. For my opinion on whether or not this match should have been the feature, no, I don't feel it to be an overly good choice in my opinion, so ho ho horrible it will be scored under. Our next Christmas bout is Bubba Claus taking on Tajiri Claus from Christmas Eve 2001. Both men competed in Santa outfits in the bout, and it's another short bout at around 5.5 minutes long. Bit back and forth this one, and it was a good enough showing. The best spot in the match came when Tajiri performed a springboard moonsault on Bubba Claus on the outside. We see heels and baby faces also watching the action separately backstage, and the match came to an end when Tajiri hit a buzzsaw kick on Bubba following a red mist after Taz stopped Devon Dudley from interfering. Again, as said, surprisingly good on the whole, so good tidings it's going to be again. We now have Bobby the Brain Heenan, where he tries to ruin Christmas. Heenan is interviewed by Gorilla Monsoon, and the Brain is wearing a Christmas outfit. Heenan keeps telling everyone watching that Santa Claus does not actually exist. Roddy Piper appears via a split screen, and Piper tells Heenan to give it a rest and be respectful towards Santa. Heenan continues his rant about there being no Santa Claus in real life. Piper is then shown to have disappeared, but shortly afterwards he emerges and he confronts Heenan, and once Bobby removes his wig and beard, Piper goes to work on the Brain as Monsoon tries to break things up. Heenan's classic heel work during this segment was brilliant, and again, I'm not going to give it a score, but I will say that this was a really good segment just for the Brain's work within it. We now have mixed tag team action next with John Cena and Trish Stratus versus Santina Marella and Beth Phoenix. This match was set up after Santino kept running his mouth to the audience backstage and Cena confronted him. Marella challenged Cena to a mixed tag match as long as he could find a female partner to team up with. Once Cena came out, he revealed his tag team partner and it was Trish Stratus. We had ourselves a pretty standard televised bout that seemed good all throughout. Cena and Stratus came out victorious when John Cena pinned Santino for the win. Good tidings I'm going to go with, as it was good seeing Trish Stratus again when I watched this the first time around. We now come to Tyson Kidd taking on Kofi Kingston from the November 29th, 2011 edition of SmackDown. Another short contest this one, and another standard televised bout in my opinion, but it's not a bad thing. I liked the commentators' outfits, and this resulted in Kofi Kingston asking Michael Cole for his reindeer hat and nose, and Kingston wore both of them when he performed a diving crossbody for the win. It's going to be another good tidings rating for this one. Next is David Otunga versus Randy Orton in a Miracle on 34th Street fight. This one also took place on November 29th, and the two put on a quite fun match with the poor Christmas trees at ringside falling victim to both men. The two gave plenty of offense on one another, and we get both men fighting on the entranceway, and we also had Wade Barrett come down and ambush Randy Orton, but the Viper managed to stay in it. The outcome of the match saw Randy nail the RKO on Otunga to pick up the win. Well, this was more of a fun match than the last two just looked at, so I'm going to go with Merry this time around. Now we have the All I Want for Christmas Battle Royal, again from November 29th. In this one, whoever won would get to meet Santa backstage and they'd be granted a wish that they would like. 20 participants competed in this match, and yes, I was looking forward to it. As I've said before, I like Battle Royals. It came down to Hornswoggle and Sheamus, and when both men were over the top rope and on the ring apron, Sheamus told Hornswoggle a few times to jump down to the floor, but Hornswoggle wouldn't comply. Hornswoggle would end up tricking Sheamus and then push the Celtic Warrior off the ring apron, leaving Hornswoggle the winner. Hornswoggle then met Santa backstage and he was granted his wish of being able to speak properly again. A somewhat fun battle royal, but not as in league with others that I've seen, but I'll still give this a merry rating. It was just enough for me to rate it as that. We have another Miracle on 34th Street fight next between Alberto Del Rio and John Cena. After Santa Claus was knocked down by Alberto Del Rio's car earlier in the show, Del Rio had to face John Cena in the street fight due to his actions. We had plenty of weapons used, presents get opened containing some of these weapons used, apart from the one that Del Rio opened where it contained a teddy bear. Alberto's face when he looks at Ricardo Rodriguez is priceless. Cena would use a bowling ball, and I guess you could say he got a strike here. When Santa Claus came down, he performed a mandible claw on Del Rio, and Cena then hit the attitude adjustment for the win. Another good Miracle on 34th Street fight this one, so merry once again will be my answer. Following that, we have a montage of superstars reciting "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" or other Christmas poems or things like that. The segments are shown one after the other in quick succession, so I don't actually know what to say about these, so we'll just move on to the next bit. Next is a match dubbed The Battle for Christmas. We have the Good Santa, which is Mark Henry, taking on the Bad Santa, which is Damien Sandow. It was basically another Miracle on 34th Street fight we got treated to. There wasn't much wrestling in this one, but it isn't overall ho-ho horrible. Sorry, I had to say that. We had plenty of weapons used, including a fire extinguisher shot. Mark Henry would knock Sandow into the Christmas tree, and in the end, Henry the good Santa, scored the win. Not as good as the actual Miracle on 34th Street fights we've had already, but Good Tidings is definitely my easy answer to give for this bout. Now it's a look at a Christmas present on a pole match between Dolph Ziggler and Fandango. Before the match, it's announced that whoever grabs the present first will get to challenge for the Intercontinental title the following week. That to me was a mistake. I would have preferred that they didn't reveal what the present was for until the winner opened it afterwards, but anyhow, the two had a good fight where most of the action took place around the pole, obviously, and Fandango would end up winning the match, and so he got the title shot for the following week. Just Good Tidings I'm going to give this one. Now we have 6 Diva tag team action to look at. Paige, Summer Rae and Cameron took on Naomi, Alicia Fox and Emma. Paige's team dominated most of the bout, and it takes a while for Emma to make the tag to her teammates. We had a decent showing here, and keep in mind this was just prior to the women's division improving in WWE. Once Emma made the tag, Naomi went to work on Cameron for a while, and the match ended when Alicia Fox pinned Cameron for the win. Decent and fine to me this one, so we have another Good Tidings rating to add. Our look comes to an end with one more Miracle on 34th Street fight. We have Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose for this one, and we have the best saved for last. This match is no doubt the best one on the feature. A real chaotic and entertaining street fight. We had Wyatt several times getting away from table shots, much to the crowd's displeasure, and we had another good spot where Ambrose hit a diving elbow off a ladder. The match came to an end when Bray Wyatt threw Ambrose into a turnbuckle that had a Singapore cane sticking out of it, and Bray pinned Dean for the win. Afterwards, Ambrose began ambushing Bray, and Dean managed to give fans the table spot that Wyatt walked off from earlier. So while Wyatt won the match, Ambrose indeed got the last laugh. Merry. No doubt this one deserves a rating of merry, and easily the best match on this feature. So that's that. WWE's Christmas collection all looked at. Firstly, as always, let's recap the score for the feature's matches contained. Okay, we have 5 bouts that I considered merry choices for the feature, 7 were Good Tiding, and only 1 was a ho-ho horrible match that was included in the feature. So overall, it looks to come across as a just above average watch. Now for the best matches in this set. Well, that's very easy for me to pick out. For me, the best ones were basically all the Miracle on 34th Street fights, David Otunga versus Randy Orton, Alberto Del Rio versus John Cena, and especially Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose. They were all entertaining in their own various ways. For matches I would have had in this feature, I have 2 to pick, but funnily enough, they're both featured in the Christmas Collection DVD that came out not too long ago. They are Kurt Angle versus Santa at Armageddon 2004, even though it was just a squash match and Angle was just being excellent on the microphone. And the second bout is Batista taking on Santa, who turned out to be Sylvain Grenier from the December 22nd, 2006 edition of SmackDown. So, as said at the beginning of the video, I might cover the Christmas Collection DVD another Christmas time. My overall score for this feature, well, my thoughts on it are that it contains some presentable and some fun matches, along with other segments that I guess you could say that all of those segments as a whole were tolerable. I did say that the Foley's Hunt for Santa segments were fine, and Bobby Heenan's Christmas segment was more fun though. So all in all, from start to finish, I'm going to give this WWE Christmas feature just a 6 out of 10. Altogether, it is a feature that feels just above average, but anyone who absolutely enjoys what WWE does around the Christmas time, then good on you. So that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and from me, Wrestling Compilations, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all next time.